I'm from the Toronto Drug Users Union. I am a current drug user. I am an avid pot smoker, have been since I was 11 years old, so 24 years. But I'm also a poly drug user, which is something a lot of us marijuana users are, and something that kind of gets lost in the debate. So when we're thinking of Bill S10 and mandatory minimums and drug laws, we need to band together to fight them. Pot smokers, marijuana users, MDMA users, cocaine users, all of us, because I mean these laws are really made to repress us. They're based on racist, classist policy, and we need to fight them together. So, you know, that's what I want to say to my fellow marijuana users is we need to be united in stopping the legislation before Harper government.
Awesome.
She checks out my stuff on the side.
Yeah, we don't want it.
Marginalized people's lives. No more prisons, build homes. No more prisons, build homes. No more prisons, build homes.
As part of their, the Zeidler Group is part of a $593 million contract with other companies including Dawn Corporation and Fengate Capital. Toronto Zeidler architects have brought the American invention of prefabricated prisons to Canada. In the past, Zeidler has designed projects such as Ontario Place, the Eaton Centre, University of Toronto Innis College Residence, and the refurbished Gladstone Hotel. Now Zeidler architects are credited with designing the first prefabricated prison in Canadian history. According to Zeidler's website, we believe that a building must fulfill the functional and economic requirements that the owners intended to serve, but at the same time, it must evoke a positive emotional response from its users and the public at large. So why is Zeidler, the architect with a mission like this, building prison cells to serve Harper's political agenda? The prefabricated prison industry in the U.S. is big business and profits off the lives of marginalized people. We will not allow Canada to follow in the footsteps of the disastrous American prison industrial complex. In Canada, people from Indigenous and racialized communities are the most targeted and over-incarcerated group in the prison industrial complex. The growth of prisons will only see an increase in the discrimination, policing, and incarceration of members of these communities. Queer and trans communities, the poor and homeless, drug users, non-status people, sex workers, and other marginalized people also face a heightened risk of incarceration.
I received an email which said that there's a grave article in the Globe today that said that the city was preparing to sell Eva's Phoenix, which is just about a couple of miles down the road here, where hundreds and hundreds of youth have come through those doors and been helped by that service, and they're going to sell that. That's the city's response to what's going on. I want to take a different take on prisons today. I want to talk about why, at this point in time in the history of this country, we are building prisons at a record rate to incarcerate some of the poorest people. I want to talk about the fact that over the next few years, the federal government, provincial government, and the city are preparing austerity measures that will put to shame what the people in the 30s saw. And they understand that there might be a resistance to those cuts. We're talking about a government that is ready to starve its people. That is refusing to give them housing so they can live on. That they're refusing to to make sure that they have enough work to feed their kids. That's the kind of government we want. So what happens? What happens when this happens? What happens is that we go to our communities and we say, like, fuck, you're going to put us in a prison. If I'm going to a prison, I'm going to go because I'm going to go to a protest and then come in here one day and you're going to take over this fucking place and like hell you're going to make prisons. That's the kind of movement I'm going to go. And one day we'll be strong enough to go to those prisons and tear those fucking walls down. That's how strong. But why do I believe that? Why do I believe that we're capable of that? Because you know what? People in the past history, they did that. Do you know that in the 30s, when the unemployed were refused relief, they went to the welfare office, or the relief offices, 3,000 to 4,000 strong, and they took them over until they got relief. And you know how they did that? They went to the communities, they talked to each other in Toronto, across Toronto, Tomacock, Scarborough. They went where people were, the unemployed, where they talked to each other, and they mobilized. Because you know what? We can't leave our faith in the hands of the NDP, the Liberals, and the Conservatives. Because if we do, we're dead. So what we have to do today, and I'm so proud that people took to the streets today around this issue. So proud, give yourself a big hand. But what we have to do now is we have to link with other communities around these issues, around their issues. And we have to form coalitions. And we have to build a movement that's so strong that we come down these streets, there's nothing they can do. That when we come here, that they'll know that they can't deal these things. The last thing I want to say is for the last few days, I've been walking through the TTC and on the streets, and you see people starving, you see people begging every day. And we know that all City Hall, many of those people, by the way, who are going through City Hall are actually living in shelters right now. We know that, because we have to go to bail hearings for them. And many of them are forced to plead, because if they don't plead, they're going to wind up longer in jail. And they go on the record, they don't know that kind of stuff. We know that stuff. So we have to have enough to eat, and we have to have housing. So I'm going to end there, except to say that, you know, I have to admit that when I came to this and I see these things, and I see how much money they want to spend on prisons, on jails, and I understand that these are brothers or sisters or aunts or children. Poor people's children that will be put in there. And when I think about that, I get very, very angry, and I'll take that anger to the streets until we stop that.
This isn't the end, and I want to send a message to the Ziegler Group and any other architect firms or other firms that get in bed with the Harper government to expand the prisons, that this is not the end. These kinds of groups should be building housing, they should be building community centers, they should be building things in our communities, not prefabricated prisons for the prison industrial complex. On Tuesday, March 15th at 5 p.m., there's an anti-police brutality march in front of 51 Division. I would encourage people to strongly go to that march. As we know from the G20, the police response that weekend was bad, but it is nothing like the response that communities in this city face on a regular basis. People who are marginalized, people who are targeted by police on a regular basis, and the police in our city are some of the most overpaid police in the world. And we have some of the lowest crime rate in Canada. And we are seeing budget cuts to our own services while the police budget still booms. So I really encourage people to go out to that demonstration March 15th. And we're just going to keep this going. So join the Prison Moratorium Action Coalition. Thank you for coming out. Let's keep this happening. Let's end this prison expansion. Let's stop the bills and let's fight them.
I'm Turmeric, and I'm from the TRIP Project. We serve Toronto's rave and nightlife community, and we primarily work with youth. And Bill S10 is a bill which seeks to impose mandatory minimum sentences for drug crimes, many of which are minor drug crimes. And I think that a lot of people don't really realize the implications of what this bill means. Bill S10 would mean that the mandatory minimum sentences for giving your friend a vial of ketamine or a cap of MDMA would be 1 year. Trafficking, ketamine, MDMA, or cocaine, any Schedule I drug, would be a mandatory minimum sentence of 1 year. You could be sitting in a park and give your friend a bump of something, and you would face a mandatory minimum sentence of an entire year. They're building extra prisons. The reason why we're here at this architecture firm is because they're trying to build prefabricated big box prisons in order to house the people that they're planning on this bill putting into prison.